ISRC.
Hello there guys, well this is what the miniature was for. I've painted him up in the style of King Arthur, and the diorama has been done to look like Arthur at the lake, praying for Excalibur to be given to him. So I hope you like it. I'll show you in a few moments the process I went through to make it. But first of all, I want to say to you guys, have a very happy Christmas. I hope everything's nice and calm for you all, and I hope you've all been good, because we don't want you on Santa's naughty list. So guys, I shall let you have a look at this, and I'll be back in a moment to talk through what I did to make this diorama. Well, I started with a piece of hardboard and put on some polyfilla and gravel on one side of it, and then started painting up a pattern with desert yellow, and then went in with some commando khaki, just keeping the pattern of the painting loose, just to try and create that sort of sandy sort of gravel look. I then took and started adding some foliage to the flat lower piece, which will be the under the water, to try and make things look like they're growing under the water, and flocked a little bit on the mound to make it look like the sort of grassy area at the top of at the side of the water. I then took and tried to start shading in some areas to try and make it look like there'd be areas of depth under the water. I did that in various stages. Started adding some lichen to look like some bushes and the likes. I had a few wee issues with that, but I'll discuss that later as things change. But as I discovered, there are a few problems. I then took some plasticine and created myself a little wall around the diorama in preparation for putting in some water effects. Just made sure that there were no gaps around the edges so that the water effect wouldn't pour out through the edges of the mould box, as it were. I did make a bit of a judgment error, as I realised at a later point. The initial plan was to use the GW water effects, which is very liquid. I popped in place there the arm with the sword in place, so that I had my positioning ready to follow, and so that would be under the water. Basically just got nice and prepared to make sure that everything would be neat and tidy and held in tight with clamps so that I wouldn't have any accidents, hopefully, with the water effects. The GW water unfortunately wasn't very great. It took a very long time to dry and dried down to virtually nothing. So I abandoned the idea of that. As you can see there, it seemed to bring back to life all the glued areas that I'd done on it underneath as well, and I'd really got very angry with it. So I ditched the idea of the GW water effects and went in after that with Vallejo Heavy Gloss, I think it was. You can see what the water effects the GW one did to them. So went in there, started spreading around the Vallejo Heavy Gloss gel, and had some good results with that. Was quite content with how that went. So just trying to let you see there the different angles down it, and trying to create an amount of depth to the water to try and give that a reasonable effect. You'll see here I've switched the lichen for clump foliage, because when I was trying to dry the water effects back, the lichen became extremely dry and brittle and started crumbling, so I removed it and just went in with the clump flock instead, which has given just as good an effect, I feel, but it's not as brittle or easily damaged. What I didn't get to show on the footage was after I'd put my first layer down of the water effects, I went in with some blue and green inks just to create a watery colour scheme, which you can see quite nicely under the surface of the water effects there, or at least I hope you can. A nice little side effect of using the two different types of water effect was that there was a slight bit of peel back between the first two layers, and I was able to seal that down afterwards, but it almost created a slight mirroring effect round where the arm came out the water, so that was a nice little side effect I was quite content with. So, but certainly would certainly recommend the Vallejo Heavy Gloss Gel, because that really was good for doing the water effect on the diorama, and was very grateful for it, and was glad to get rid of the GW stuff because it just didn't do it for me. But basically this is a diorama pretty much complete before adding the miniature to it, and I'll let you have some music and let you watch it. Take care, guys. Have a good Christmas.